Work with Nigeria to tackle global terrorism. President Buhari tells new envoys as they present letters of credence.
House of Representatives to investigate the deplorable condition of the State House Clinic.
No monkeypox case in the Federal Capital Territory. FCT administration assures residents.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall focus on emerging issues on digital switchover.
When members of the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, gathered in Geneva in 2006 and set a 2015 deadline for the entire broadcasting stations in the world to go digital, Nigeria immediately set in motion the process of attaining this objective.
Indeed, Kieran, to demonstrate its commitment to achieving this tall order, Nigeria sets an initial target of 2012 for broadcast stations in the country to be digitized. However, this target has not been met due to a variety of factors that have been explained time and time again.
Yes, blessing, that's been explained, but a country like Tanzania and Ghana, hit the road, and they're a bit ahead of us now in that regard. Now, for the records, Nigeria has missed the broadcast analog to digital switchover 4 times from the initial deadline.
Well, this is not to ignore the serious effort the government, particularly the Buhari administration, has put into ensure that Nigerians enjoy the dividends of digitization. Some of these benefits include clearer signals, wider variety of channels, media integration, flexible interaction, and many economic benefits. Clear pictures, like I say.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, indeed, Bless. You will recall the historic event of 30th April 2016 in the city of Jos, the Plateau State capital, when Nigeria formally transited from analog to digital broadcasting. This pilot phase opened the doors for further rollout in Abuja, with a countdown for other states still loading.
Now, Nigerians are eagerly awaiting the complete digitization of the country, as those who have tested it say the experience is a great delight. But then there are questions as to why the process appears slow and what are the challenges faced by signal distributors. Because to recall that first instance, the national signal distributor, which of course integrated television services, as well as a private signal distributor, were actually unfolded in that first phase, as well as some other aggregators now coming on board. Well, how accessible and affordable are the set-top boxes? Well, this are, for those who, when we get to, because of the program, we'll get to find out what the set-top boxes are and other areas of technologies that have been involved, definitely.
In fact, that's a very good question, because we're going to have, I see the complexities involved in this transition, because it doesn't just happen. There are processes that should be followed before we go fully digitalized. Now, other questions include the state of the technology and equipment deployed by the signal distributors, particularly the Integrated Television Services, ITS, which is government-driven. How sensitized are Nigerians about digitization? Are there any concerns about the whole process? How are the challenges, if any, being tackled? Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Kieran Umayo. Thank you for finding time to join us on this particular edition of the program.
Yes, it is the last edition for the working week. It's Friday. My name is Blessing Abu. It's good to have you join us, and we'll appreciate your time always on the program. This is coming to you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, and in addition to some of the things that we've talked about, which is about digitization process, the emerging trends in digital switchover, we have our other complementary segments.
Exactly, and they include, you know, newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and entertainment news. And we'll begin with the news, actually, and Lydia Bassey is our guide. Hello, Lydia.
Hello, Kirian. Good morning and welcome to the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a case for world leaders to not only forge strategic alliances, but also ensure forthrightness in intelligence sharing across borders so as to curb the growing sophistication in global terrorism. The president stated this while receiving letters of credence from 3 new ambassadors posted to Nigeria, Mr. Asim Mohamed Hanafi El Saifi of Egypt, Her Excellency Mrs. Marceline Paulette Ajovi Yekpe, Ambassador of Benin Republic to Nigeria, and His Excellency Mr. Alejandro Garcia Moreno Elizondo, Ambassador of Mexico to Nigeria. In what could be described as the fulfillment of a promise made, the federal government has officially flagged off the construction of the Boni Border Road and Bridges project. President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, said the project, while under construction, will create several jobs in the engineering value chain and, when completed, permanently transform the lives of the people of the Niger Delta region and Nigeria as a whole. The multi-billion naira project is to be funded 50-50 by the federal government and the management of NLNG. The Senate has referred to the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts the request by President Muhammadu Buhari for the approval of external loans for the issuance of $2.5 billion to finance the 2017 budget and $3 billion to refinance domestic debts. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports that this and the passing through third reading of the presidential inauguration bill were some of the key issues deliberated.
Billion girls are a source of power, energy and creativity, and millions of girls in emergencies are no exception.
There is the need for gender-friendly senators who abound in this chamber to support the Senate, the 8th Senate, to give equal opportunities and gender balance.
To ensure the implementation of the UBE Act in all states of the Federation. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Ensure the domestication and implementation of the Child Rights Acts in the 13 states that are yet to do so. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has described as unacceptable what it referred to as the deplorable condition of the State House Clinic, as recently observed by the wife of the president. As a result, the legislators have resolved to carry out an investigation into the circumstances that led to the poor state of the health facility established to take care of the president's health.
That the clinic has, over the years, been receiving annual budgetary allocations to procure equipment that will enable it function optimally. The House further notes that in 2015, 2016, and 2017 appropriation acts, the clinic was allocated the sum of 3.94 billion naira, 3.87 billion naira, 3.2 billion naira respectively for upgrading and provision of necessary drugs and equipment. The House therefore resolves to commend Her Excellency Mrs. Aisha Buhari for her exemplary show of patriotism and selflessness, and to mandate the Committee on Healthcare Services to investigate the deplorable condition of the State House Clinic.
And because we should help ourselves and halt further speculation on this motion, I will throw the question. And let's wait until the hard facts emerges, or when the hard facts emerge, then we can, in an enlightened and informed manner, address the issues.
Still on matters concerning health, there is no confirmed case of monkeypox disease in the Federal Capital Territory. The FCT Health and Human Services Secretariat gave this assurance while debunking rumors on an alleged outbreak in the capital city. Hakimat Ali reports that to further allay the public health concerns of FCT residents, the Secretary assured the public that FCT administration has a very active and well-articulated public health institutional framework running from the primary to the tertiary healthcare levels, from the wards, area councils to the FCT.
Monkeypox has been reported in the FCT. 3 from the National Hospital, 2 from the Gwarimpa General Hospital, 1 from the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, Gwagwalada, and 1 from the Nyanya General Hospital. The team from the FCTA Department of Public Health swung into action and investigated the cases and concluded that the history, symptom, and sign do not fit into the clear definition of monkeypox.
One of the resolutions from last Wednesday's Federal Executive Council meeting is the plan to take a critical look at private practice by medical doctors in public health institutions. Basi Taiklang has the reaction of Nigerians and other issues on the federal government pronouncement.
Council has also decided to look into the issue of private practice by medical doctors in the public sector, and a committee has been set up to look extensively into that issue.
It means that to improve, standardize the healthcare system in Nigeria, I think I'm 110% supporting what the action the president has done.
It will give hope to the citizenry, or at least they will be confident that if you go to the public hospital, you see doctor.
What if the doctor is trained in a particular area where the government does not have the facility, and there is somewhere else that facility exists to deliver service, and you say the doctor should not go there to deliver service?
Away from health matters now. The decision of the federal government to enforce no work, no pay rule has been described as a right step, as it would curb incessant industrial strike across the country. This is the view of Nigerian Employees Consultative Association. Speaking to our correspondent Emmanuel Ayimiro, the association says the principle relying on Section 42, subsection 1 and 43 of the Trade Dispute Act has been adopted to strengthen productivity in the private sector over time.
Commend the federal government of Nigeria for waking up at last. For a very long time, government has been sleeping on its rights.
If at all the national legislation prescribes a process to be followed in striking, and this process is not followed, then really the employer has the rights within the law to take appropriate action, which one of them being the fact that if the worker does not work, then they will not be paid. But in a situation where the workers take the due process, go through the law as prescribed, and then there's no agreement on the grievance, then they should resort to strike at the very end.
And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back with Kirian and Blessing after the break. Good morning.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
people commit crime and are punished for what they did.
A crime is a crime and it has devastating effect.
They go to jail, and 2 years, 10 years, various prison terms. They come out and go home.
Hey, stop there. Where do you think you're going to?
They try to reintegrate with the society.
Is what? As convict. Come back, it's not that bad.
But does the society accept them?
The prison was just for punishment.
Stigma is another thought-provoking and rib-cracking episode of Professor John Bull. Join us this week as we take you on the journey of the story of an ex-convict with two-faced Dibia.
My canteen don't say to that black place. What did he say you are? You are a cook or a native doctor? Restaurant I've been in a shrine.
Over and
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis? Morphine! Presenting Mortise Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Mortise Power Guard.
What makes a Niger mom powerful?
I encourage my kids to learn new things, and if they get hurt, I rely on the power of my Dettol's 1 capful to fight germs.
My family needs protection from germs. I use the power of Dettol's 1 capful to disinfect surfaces and clothes.
I trust the power of Dettol's 1 capful for bathing. The power of Dettol's 1 capful protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Be a powerful Niger mom with Dettol. Be 100% sure.
Helen!
Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now?
Sure.
This gets just 1.
It is clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent and bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic 10X.
Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Apic 10X challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack.
Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Chief Obafemi Awolowo.
These patriots worked together to achieve independence for one united Nigeria. Although some may say Nigeria is a mistake, we all know that the Almighty never makes mistakes.
God has not made a mistake by bringing us all together in the way that He has brought us together. God has put us together here so that we can build a community that will be an example to the entire world.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
And in case you just joined us, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Now to business. The International Monetary Fund warns oil exporting countries over rising foreign debts. Let's now join Amina and Jem for more details and more business news.
Good morning and welcome to Business News. The International Monetary Fund has warned Nigeria and other oil exporting countries over rising foreign debts, saying there is a need to make external borrowing sustainable. The fund, however, commended Nigeria for the recent reforms aimed at reducing infrastructure gap in the country, adding that it was in support of the measures. The Assistant Director of Fiscal Affairs Department, IMF, Mrs. Katrina Patillo, gave the warning and commendation on the sidelines of the release of Fiscal Monitor Report by the fund in Washington, D.C., United States. Patillo said the concern in a number of oil exporters is that unless there is an action now, that debt, which has been rising in many countries, is a concern, particularly because of interest payments. And the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, has said its relationship with Akrit Petroleum will help in achieving its goal of increasing oil production and reserves. The Managing Director, NPDC, Mr. Yusuf Matashi, says the company was looking to increase its oil reserves from 3 billion barrels to 5 billion barrels in the next 5 years. The NPDC boss says getting more than existing production and delivering new production more efficiently would be critical and indispensable in achieving this target. And trading on the equities market on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed Wednesday on a negative note. Here is a graphic summary of Thursday's trading numbers. And that does it on Business News. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly.
Thank you very much, Amina Najim. Up next for us, we'll take a look at some of the headlines in today's papers.
All right, now time for newspaper review. Our reviewer, unfortunately, is not here this morning for obvious reasons, but we need to look at all the headlines in some of the national dailies that we have here with Blessing. Now, I have the Nigerian Tribune. Let's begin from the stories just below the nameplate. NLC TUC vow to resist no work, no pay rule. That's on page 37. And then following that story, PDP not properly playing opposition role. Abdul Salami Abubakar says that's on page 36 of the Nigerian Tribune. Senate passes bill for president and vice president to hold inauguration at National Assembly. Is on page 37. And then World Bank warns Nigeria against relying on oil price rise. Page 6 has that story. Now, reps recommend upward review of a minimum wage to approve Aso Villa Clinic budget. Page 36 has that story on the Nigerian Tribune. Now, the main headline this morning on the Tribune is my role in NMPC financing arrangement, says Vice President Oshebajo. With the rider, Kachuku Baru Saga, a national embarrassment, says Arewa Consultative Forum on page 4. That's where you get details of that story. And now, besides the photograph you see there, we have Intel's NPA pilotage dispute threatens $26 billion Badagry deep sea port. Is on page 6. Federal government to sell discos to new investors is also on page 6. And federal government secures 55,000 hectares and 11 states for grazing reserves is also on page 32. Another story on page 32 here is I don't deserve dethronement threat, Ulubado, to the Ajimobi, that's governor of that state. Now, below the photograph, Southwest APC restates need for devolution of functions from center to states, says restructuring not their language. Buhari hasn't told us he is recontesting in 2019. The story is on page 31. Now, Blessing.
Okay, Kieran, now I will read the headlines on the front page of the Nigerian Pilot first. Now, just below the nameplate, you have reps probe 11.01 billion naira State House Clinic scam. You'll find more details on page 2 of the Nigerian Pilot. Nationwide strike looms over minimum wage. Reps a warning, and you'll find more details on page 5. Now, leading for the Nigerian Pilot today, bombshell, no vaccine for monkeypox. It's coming from the Center for Disease Control. And there's a rider to that as virus spreads. But more details on page 5. There's a photograph of pupils of a school in Kubwa area of Abuja on queue for screening
with handheld infrared thermometers to check for the temperature. Now, just below the photograph, you have the story. Senate passes bill for inauguration of president at National Assembly, with Vice President too as the rider. More details on page 9. Now, at the foot of the page, there's raft of stories. ECOWAS court fines federal government 18 million naira for rights violation. And Kaduna journalist Biniyat finally regains freedom. The story is trending on page 5. And IPOB Indigbo, architect of own failure. This is coming from a war veteran. Find out more details on page 2. Federal government owes us 9 months' salaries. United States citizens lament. More details on page 27. And Lagos commuters stranded as the BRT drivers stay off the road. Now, quickly now to the New Telegraph. The paper we have in the house as well. Just above the nameplate, World Bank to Nigeria. Forget oil, invest in people. The writer, IMF, we will unlock low-income countries' potentials. Starts right there, but continues on page 5. Now, inside you have a story, power, federal government to cede holding shares to new investors. More details on page 6. Just below the nameplate, the stories, approved loans, not contracts for NNPC. This is coming from Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. More details on page 2. Now, farmer to die by hanging for stealing 170 naira. More details on page 8. We recovered lethal weapons from Kanu's residence. This is coming from the police. More details on page 33. There is more to Tagbo's death. This is coming from family. Tagbo, of course, the youngster who died with Davido, the artist, being fingered alongside being in the company at that time. Abdul Salami, PDP has failed as opposition party. That's the lead story on the front page of New Telegraph this morning. The writer, McCarthy, will defeat APC in 2019. More details on page 2. Now, the photograph there is a worrisome one, killer vaccine, low turnout in Southeast schools. Most of the schools are under lock and key, as you can see right there. Now, another sad story, 5 students drowned during an excursion that actually took place in Kaduna.
All right. Now, over to the This Day newspaper. Above the nameplate, we'll begin with the story on NNPC. I did not approve contracts but loans, says Shibajo. We've also read that in some of the dailies, national dailies. Now, Kachiku, issues raised in memo were not on fraud, but governance. Now, Buhari reappoints Orji as the NCI's boss. NCI really stands for Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. That's on page 48. That's where you get the details of that story. And now below the nameplate as the major headline, at APC Southwest Leadership Meeting, Akonde says presidential ticket open to all. And just below that, federal government to review power sector privatization. Discos may cede shares to new investors. That's on page 10 of This Day newspaper. And the photograph there is that of Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Adosho, and of course with one of her colleagues there, Mrs. Ellen Clark. That's at the ongoing IMF meeting in New York. And let's quickly move to the Daily Punch and see the stories we get on the front page of the Daily Punch. Let's get Daily Punch on now. The main headline here is IG asks courts to stop Saraki, Senate from investigating him. In fact, that's the only story we can take on Punch for now. You can get more details of other stories on that newspaper when you go for it this morning. Or you still have another story there?
Well, just one story at the foot of the Telegraph, which I believe all men, and for those who love their men, whether he's a father figure, uncle, should be interested in. So scientists are linking pesticides to declining sperm counts and testicular cancer. More details on page 8. That's at the foot of New Telegraph. Well, that'll be all from papers. We're taking a look at the papers and the front page and the headlines making the front pages this morning. We'll take a break at this point. When we return, we'll take a look at the emerging trend in the digital switchover as we all await the complete transition of this digital technology.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
The Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, the Made in Nigeria campaign. In the midst of unprecedented multiple challenges, our great country Nigeria, as Africa's largest economy, is surely marching on to a new era of all-round prosperity, especially through re-engineered and diversified economy, powerfully driven by the change agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR.
We will patronize local entrepreneurs. We will promote the manufacturing powerhouses. Our objective is to make Nigeria a new manufacturing hub.
It is not time to complain. It is time to join the campaign. It is time for economic recovery, growth and diversification of our economy. By Made in Nigeria.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold? No. They are spread through germs on your hands. Your hands collect germs that causes diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is wash, wash, wash your hands. Use Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiye suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
Jennifer, don't tell me you're still looking for chapters for your expo.
What expo? I'm reading to pass.
Yeah, right. I beg, we all know even if you study, the surest way to graduate in this school is to do a rejo. Or better still, we hook the lecturers, Abby.
No, that's a thing of the past. I would not get a certificate I cannot defend. I would not be a burden to the nation or the society by fixing or buying certificates. That does not add value to my life. This is the era of change, and change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Another edition of TV Guide magazine is out with revealing accounts of trending stories. With the dwindling oil revenue, he says there is no reason to worry.
We strongly believe that culture is Nigerians' new oil, and we're going to show that by creating wealth, our art and culture will be a statement for all of us.
Our cover story is on Otumba Olunsegun Runchewe, Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. For upcoming TV presenters, elegant Elizabeth Banu tells you what it takes. A peep into the activities of the Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative, a mandate being fulfilled. A trip to the Yankari Games Reserve and Safari in Bauchi State brings you closer to nature. And the Oshun Oshogo Festival, our culture, our pride. Professor Adiku, the Vice-Chancellor, University of Abuja, tells us what it means to manage a university, plus our regular features, star profile, media issues, relationships, young minds, entertainment, sports, and lots more. Pick your copy now at the vendors or at every NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, still your indispensable companion.
All right, now to set the tone for our conversation this morning, here is Cecil Bele with a background report.
When it was first discussed, the challenge of compliance, technological competence and strict adherence to the global best practice in digital terrestrial transmission looked like an uphill task. Physically, the start-off location in Jos is uphill. It is a job that the Integrated Television Services, ITS, seem to have passed in flying colors since its first footprint on this town 15 months ago.
If you look at what we have done so far, since it was a pilot scheme, there were already plans on the way to move to the southern zone, because presently we are the both northern part of Plateau and part southern side of Plateau, but the southern part, areas like Lantan, Shendam, and Watse areas, these areas are already being looked upon by ITS, which we're about to move into those areas to cover the entire state.
The ITS launched with 15 free channels. Presently, it transmits about 20 channels.
ITS platform has been running successfully for the past 1 year without a flip.
The cutting-edge technology on display and its suitability to the terrain were discussed, with the satisfaction of the Nigerian TV viewer at the center of the tour.
Now that we've finished our, you can scroll now. Let's I'm sure that ITS did their studies. That's why the 9 local governments that are covered so far are able to view digital TV as of today.
The ITS seem to have conquered the mountainous terrain of Jos, as access to signals are without hitch. It is now looking forward to a consolidation of their competence in other locations across the country. Pinnacle Communications free TV transmission in Abuja has taken off. Now the ITS is standing by to launch in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. Inspecting the German technology installed, Road and Shores, one of the world top brands in broadcast transmitters, the legislators appeared satisfied with the level of preparedness, adding that the white paper presented by the Presidential Advisory Committee on digital switchover should be revisited to ensure compliance from every player.
We should revisit the white paper, go through it, and legislate.
Since 1999, the NTA has relied on German technology, Road and Shores, for her analog transmitters, which have served every corner of the country seamlessly. This new version, which is a high-tech upgrade, is compact with high power density and minimizes operating costs for terrestrial broadcasting.
If the digital DVD-T can do about 5 channels, this one can do 15.
ITS is complying with each of these specifications given by ITU and the DG Team Nigeria.
Each city in Nigeria comes with its own geographical peculiarities, which require strategizing to ensure a hitch-free transition. Several switchover deadlines have been missed, but the government's renewed vigor has given impetus to the process. Nigerians now anticipate that the digital train will stop next in their domain.
Thank you very much, Cecil Egbele. Yeah, where the digital team will be going next, you'll find out in the course of this discussion as well. Now, joining us in the studio to discuss emerging issues in the digital switchover, we'd like to introduce at this point, well, a former boss, well, ever smiling, Engineer Edward Amana. He's the chairman, digitization implementation team, otherwise known as DG Team. Welcome to the program, boss.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce another boss in the house, Engineer Rotimi Salami is a General Manager, Integrated Television Services, and otherwise known as ITS, is the Public National Distribution Signal carrier, and I'm sure we'd like to know more about what is happening with this particular signal distributor. Welcome to the program, Engineer Salami.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Kieran, we have another guest.
Yes, we do have Dr. Armstrong Dashaba, a Director of Broadcast Monitoring, will be joining us, as we progress, as we make progress in this conversation. But I would also like you to meet, a stakeholder in the entire business of digitization. He is Mr. Crescent Akor of the National Democracy Stakeholders Group. Thank you for coming this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
All right, the stage is set now, and we would like to begin by asking Engineer Amana, who actually was one of the pioneers of this process, to talk to Nigerians about what digitization is all about. Because, of course, it's migration from one form of technology to another, and there has to be a process in this. And we'd like to bring in Engineer Amana to explain to Nigerians this process and what it is all about.
Well, thank you very much, and for giving me the opportunity to enlighten the public. The issue of digitization is actually not a migration, it's a transition. Once we transit, we are no longer coming back. Migration denotes like migratory birds. During the winter times, you go south to the warmer climates, and then when the north is warm, you come back again. But this is different. We're transiting from analog to digital broadcasting. And why do we have to transit from analog to digital broadcasting? First and foremost, technology over the years has advanced. Analog television has been with us for over 50 years. And in that period, advances have been made in broadcast industry. The analog transmission system does not make efficient use of the available spectrum. And spectrum is a very limited natural resource, which is also very costly. And so, to put it in a way you'll understand, the analog system on one channel gives you one program. On the digital arena, with the new technology of DVB T2 transmission and compression, you put in up to 16 programs on the one channel that the analog transmission uses for its operation. This gives us a lot more stations or programs of different varieties to watch. And because it is digital, it's resistant to interference. And therefore, you get better quality video and better quality audio. Then, when you're taking one channel and you're putting 16 programs, you are saving a lot of spectrum. And this saving in spectrum will lead to availability of spectrum for other services like mobile broadband, which can assist us in Africa, and in particular Nigeria, to deploy broadband services to the rural areas of Nigeria. Apart from the value of this deployment and services that are emanating from this, government also stands to make money, because this spectrum is not going to be given free to the telcos. They have to pay for it. Okay. And spectrum is very valuable and costly.
All right, now, having set out to actually give us this technology transition that we expected to move with the times. Now, what is the mandate for DigiTeam in all of this?
Mandate for DigiTeam is to actually set the standards of transmission and also monitor and oversee the progress of the various actors within the transition ecosystem.
Okay. Are you satisfied so far with the standards and the progress we've made in this line as the DigiTeam?
Yes. The standards we are operating in Nigeria is also the same standards that is being used in all the ECOWAS countries. Okay. In fact, most of Africa have adopted the same standard. We had several meetings with the ECOWAS group, as well as the African Telecommunications Union, ATU. And in these various meetings, we felt it is better for us in Africa to adopt a common standard. And that is what obtains in the greater part of Africa. Just a few countries, I think Botswana and I think Angola, I can't remember the second one, that have gone out of the African Common Standard for reasons of, I think, technical aid from some countries like Japan and Brazil. They decide to go off.
All right.
But then there are problems to those ones because they now form an island in a sea of common standards.
Yes. All right, we'll get back to you.
Yes, but for now, let's go to Engineer Salam, because he's occupying a key position in ensuring that this digitization, works out as expected. And now, signal distributor or distribution is very crucial in all of this, because the transition from analog to digital was as a result of the fact that, look, if you don't digitize, you have signal issues. Now, what is the role of a signal distributor in this connection?
Thank you very much, Karen. Specifically as it is today, the role of the signal distributor in Nigeria is to transmit collated signal, aggregated signals, and make them available to the viewership. We are to build capacity for broadcasters and content providers to be able to showcase their property to the viewership. As of today, that is generally the role of the signal distributor.
Okay. Is it as simple as that? Because
if I may expand on that.
All right.
Now, in the Nigerian government policy on the transition from analog to terrestrial digital broadcasting is that there should be a separation of functions in the broadcast industry. The broadcaster, like NTA, will concern itself with the content of the broadcast. The signal distributor is responsible for the transmission of these signals to the people at home.
Now, this digital, I want us to really go to the nitty-gritty of this explanation that you are making now. Is there any role the DTH will play in this? There's a facility called DTH, that is the direct-to-home signal.
Why don't you find out what the ITS has?
I wanted Engineer Amana to conclude this explanation by way of ensuring, because personally, as a broadcaster, I have a little idea of what this is all about. I understand the concept, but the majority of Nigerians do not. And this is the larger, number of Nigerians who are also stakeholders, because if Nigerians don't watch when we digitize, then the whole effort is in vain. So if you could explain further.
All right. DTH is direct-to-home satellite broadcasting. Satellite broadcasting has a role in the digital process. Now, you have broadcasters scattered all over the place. In Abuja, for example, we have what we call national stations, we have regional stations, and we have local stations. In Abuja, News 24 is a national station. NT Abuja is a local station. Now, the signals from the national stations, some of them from Lagos, some from Ibadan, some from all over the place, have to be brought to the head end of Pinnacle, who are the ones transmitting in Abuja currently. Now, to do this, you can either aggregate those programs and transmit them to the head end of the signal distributor via satellite. That's where DTH comes in. Or you can do it via fiber optic cable if it is available in the location of the various stations that are participants in the free view bouquet that is available here. So the role of satellite is twofold: to backhaul the signals from the various stations to the head end of the signal distributor. Also, we are aiming to have 95% population coverage. There will be those rare areas where the terrestrial signal cannot cover, and therefore we use DTH as a gap filler for those rare areas that it is not cost effective to put a transmitter on.
Okay. All right, let's get back to Engineer Salami. Before we bring in our other guest, let's appreciate what ITS as a signal distributor has done so far. Where are we exactly? I know there was a pilot rollout in Jos in 2016. So where are we exactly, and what is still stalling the process in its own movement, really?
In Jos, you'll recall in 2016, April, when we started, like you said, it was a pilot program to test run the entire system. As at that time, only 15 channels were available for transmission. We started then and were able to cover about 9 local governments of Plateau. As of January this year, the bouquet offering was increased to 30 plus data services. Now, like the DigiTeam chairman mentioned earlier, there are licensing regimes for programs present on the bouquet. Okay. You're either a national player, a regional player, or a local player. Okay. So what we've done in JOS is to select the national programs and include the local operators there and put them on our platform. Okay. We have since increased our capacity such that we can carry not less than 50 channels on our platform in the cities where we are presently installed. This includes
which are the cities now?
Jos,
okay.
We are in Ilorin, we are in Oshogbo, we are in Enugu. Technically, we are present, we are on ground in those cities.
In those cities.
Yes.
So everything is set, as in we could pick the signals clear and crypt as people are being received.
If you are in any of these cities that I mentioned, and you are privileged to have set-top box, you will be seeing our signals. You could make calls to friends in Ilorin, Oshogbo if you do have.
All right. We'll come back to find out other details of what kind of signal that people actually, what people should do to have a better understanding of what the process of digitization is all about. Let's get to Mr. Pleasant Ako. Now, you have your democracy stakeholders group. Now, in cities where the issue of a signal has been rolled out, Jos, for instance, and other areas that the ITS general managers actually talked about, I'm sure you have been observing some of those areas, and for reports coming to you, what are your observations?
Right. Thank you very much. I would like to, first of all, appreciate the federal government for the commitment to this whole process. For us, it's a big deal because presently, it's just 22% of Nigerians that are covered within the digital space on paid TV, leaving the rest of the stakeholders of about, consumers of about 78% not covered. So it's a big opportunity economically, and of course, it's for the country, it's a big opportunity. Then coming to your question, I think it's been received with a whole lot of excitement. Nigerians can't really wait for this expansion and for this whole process to be complete because, like I said, the chart is 22 to 78%. The 78% of the people that are covered are still waiting. And from JOS particularly, it's been a very exciting moment since the commencement last year. Like the other person, guest just said. Practically, we must commend ITS, which is the official government carrier of the whole process. They are doing very well. And I think the other states can't wait. Like the state he's mentioned, we just can't wait to receive that. But JOS has been a perfect start, and it's great.
What other concerns are the people talking about? Yes, they recorded these great milestones, but are there other concerns, whether it's the national carrier now or even the other private signal distributor in terms of competition? Because definitely there is a whole spectrum for competition in the space here.
Yeah, I think
other concerns.
Okay, I think it's a level playing ground, but first of all, we need to look at the entire process, the whole value chain involved in it. And well, in terms of capacity, we think that the NTA have existed for a pretty long time, and of course bringing that advantage on board, most especially for ITS, it will be Of course, there will probably be some setback because everything about life that you start, everything about growth process has fault lines and have certain limitations that you probably don't envisage. And for the digital process and for the capacity that exists with NTA on ground, I think it's a great journey. For the private sector, it's a level playing ground, and I think the government has provided that. We're expecting them to also do more. Probably think that for now, from our research, I think they just launched in Abuja alone, but you can see with the already available capacity for the government carrier, you can see the level of expansion. We believe that they should do more. The private sector should do more to bring pair, and of course, it's a level playing ground. It's an open space for everybody to be able to maximize the opportunity and get their earnings.
I think there was another launch in Kaduna by the private Pinnacle.
All right, thank you very much. We'll return to you as we make progress. And now to Engineer Salami once again. You saw in our report, if you watched, where we saw members of the National Assembly who visited one of our installations, the ITS installation in Kwara State. Now, let us know what is on ground there, and you know, what are the teams that are visiting the place saying, you know, with respect to being appreciative of what is being done to ensure that this process is completed?
Like I did mention earlier, we are operational in Ilorin as it is as of today. But then the process from the onset hadn't been completely smooth. There had been challenges, and that was why. The challenges are numerous, but let me say the main issue had been with the operability of the entire process. In the white paper, like the DigiTeam chairman mentioned, there will be content providers, there will be signal distributors. But along the line, during implementation, other operators were brought on the platform. And like we experienced earlier on in JOS, when we had an outage, for us as signal distributor, our platform was still operational, but we weren't receiving signals. So it took a while before we decided who was to attend to what. And those, I think, now had been straightened out. So those are part of the challenges in which I'm mentioning. The other one that I think is equally of importance to say is that we've been operational for a while. Players on the entire digital platform needs to know the cost of being on the platform. This is yet to be determined. These are part of the challenges I said, because business, the entire essence of signal distribution is about business. We are in this business to offer services, and these services had to be paid for. So that is one of the challenges that
okay, let's pursue an area Engineer Mana pointed out further. We said part of what we have for signal distribution, protocol, the DBT2 compression. Can you take time how this is going to enhance what we have in ITS?
The advantage of DVB-T2 is that it allows for different formats and different, how would I put it, kind of programs to be present. You could have radio, you could have TV, you could have data services, you could have even TV programs of higher quality, like high definition, on the same platform. This is made possible because of the technology DVB2. There's something they call multi-pipeline physical layer present in the system. This is known only to engineers who maybe deal with the system.
Now let's away from, maybe in the course of this discussion, we could come to what the challenges are and how to resolve such challenges.
You just talked about
yes. Let's get to Engineer Mana once more. Now, what is the technical specifications as recommended by ITU and or DigiTeam? And have the stakeholders like ITS met these standards? Because it will begin from there. When you keep to standard, and then of course you are sure you're going to attain your set objectives.
Right. Like I told you earlier, part of the mandate of DigiTeam is to set up the standards. But we thought to have economy of scale And we had meetings with our colleagues across the West African sub-region, which we carried forward to the rest of Africa. And the standard that we are using in Nigeria for compression is MPEG-4. For transmission is DVB-T2. That's the second generation digital video broadcast format. That's what we're using in Nigeria. Right now, I actually had to lead a team of visitation to Jos and to Ilorin, right? I was on ground during all through the period of the pilot in Jos. I had to shift base to Jos permanently for that duration. And shortly after we came back, the minister called me, and people were calling him to say that ITS was only transmitting 9 channels in Jos after we left the place, and that the signal they're transmitting was not even the standard DVB-T2 signal. I had to go to Jos. I left here and I carried my own decoder from Abuja to Jos and had it reactivated in Jos. And at that period, 21 channels were displayed with the information channel making the 22nd channel being displayed. And then we had to go and visit Ilorin again and saw what they had. I made a report, and I actually came with visuals that showed the display on the transmitter clearly showing the compression and the transmission standard, which stated clearly DVB-T2 and MPEG-4 algorithm for compression. So they met the standard. But there's a background that one needs to explain. How did ITS come into being? The government, in its wisdom, decided within the white paper, if you care to go and read the paper, from section 10 to section 13 of the white paper, the origin of ITS is clearly specified there. Government approved maximum of 3 signal distributors for Nigeria. And in that approval stated that one of the signal distributors should emerge from the transmission infrastructure of NTA. All right? And that's how ITS came into being. All right? That means ITS fundamentally has to start with the infrastructure for transmission that NTA has and utilize the infrastructure.
So this infrastructure meets the standard to
it
which
does.
digitization process.
Yes, fortunately, before now, NTA has this joint venture arrangement that came up with the NTA Start Times network. The NTA Start Times network is DVB T2 based, but it's a pay platform, okay? And no pay platform will want to go to DVB-T because that will minimize their gains. Because on the DVB-T, you can only put in like about maximum 8 channels on the one analog channel. DVB-T2 gives you 16 channels on the same one analog channel. And therefore, it will be stupid of any pay platform not to comply with DVB-T2 transmission formats.
Okay, Chairman Digiteam, if all what you've listed as, okay, the ITS is meeting standard and some other players now, there are publications in the public space now, and what we have is that there's staccato of voices. ITS has obsolete equipment. ITS is using old transmitters. Even analog is not compliant. Why are we having such dissenting voices if all what you have pointed are according to standard?
I think there's a lot of this information here, all right? Yes, the transmitters that ITS is using from Road and Shores is DVB-T2 compliant. The series of transmitters being used, Road and Shores came up with new versions of the same transmitters. The transmitters that the Start Times is using in Nigeria and all of Africa is the same format of the 8600 Road and Shores transmitters, right? This was discontinued in 2013. But in the broadcast industry, when you discontinue a particular broadcast standard equipment, the company must guarantee by law at least 10 years support for those people who have bought those equipment. From the day you discontinue production of a particular equipment, you must provide spare parts to maintain those equipment for at least another 10 years.
So,
right?
Engineer Man, from all indications, a lot of job has been done in this, and from the issue of equipment you explained, because technology is advancing, and they're not going to wait for us. By the time one drops, they're already doing another version of a particular equipment, and well, it tells more on nations that are not technologically, balanced. And at this point, I'd like you to react to what Engineer Mana just said.
He has just stated the facts, but like we all know, in the modern world, technological development is very dynamic. Going to the telecommunications world, the phone series, the model you used last year, people like Apple, Samsung, a particular month of the year, roll out new brands. Do you then throw away what you've gotten before?
Now, how do we handle the situation now as a developing country?
What happens in the broadcast industry is this. Provision is usually made for compatibility, irrespective of changes in technology. What you see now in the new models or the new transmitters are, they consume less power. They are more compact and smaller. Before, you'll have maybe 2 frames for just 1 transmitter. The new and most modern transmitters now, you have about 4 transmitters on a single frame. So what you've gained is just in power consumption in terms of electricity. But in terms of output power, modular is virtually almost the same. What we are saying here now is that we have a system that, even by virtue of what my boss had just specified now, still has a lifespan from 2013 to 2023. What we are talking of compatibility is that, irrespective of these changes, let me go back in history. When Nigeria transited from monochrome to color, you didn't have to throw away your black and white TV sets. The system is so designed that it takes care of whatever it is you have before. When we equally are now transmitting from analog to digital mode of transmission, provision is made for you not to throw away your analog TV sets. And what is even more prominent here in Nigeria is that the system is done in such that the signals are encrypted. So you need to have the set-top box to be able to view the signals. In Jos, in Ilorin, in Enugu, in Oshogbo, I mentioned earlier that if you are privileged, because the thing now is that the scarcity of the set-top box makes this viewership maybe thinned out for now. But people in Jos, people in Abuja, people in some parts of Ilorin that have access to these set-top boxes, they are DVB2 set standard boxes. They're able to receive clearly these signals.
Now, what are the assurances to Nigerians that this equipment could be sustained? You're relying on German technology, and when they phase out a particular model, what are the assurances that we will continue to be,
we are not going to be stagnant either. We are not going to be stagnant.
Exactly, because we rely totally on them, right? And when they change their models, what are the assurances that we will not drop, along the line?
We won't drop. We won't drop. Like I told you, the signal distribution issue is a business. And once revenue stream are sustained, you plan. Even as it is as of today, ITS on its own has its own rollout program for the entire country. We've done simulation for virtually where NTA exists presently. I have the document in the office. So digital broadcasting, unlike analog, you must have planned to know your coverage area, to know where you put repeater stations, to know where you put gap fillers. Similarly, we are much aware that things are changing, and we are equally going to follow these changes to sustain our operation.
All right.
If I may follow up on that, on the issue of the existing equipment, there's a certification from Road and Shores on these particular transmitters that although they phased out those series in 2013, they are guaranteeing support at least till 2023.
When was this certification done?
That's a document from Road and Shores.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, because if we still have such controversy out there,
exactly. So you needed to get back to the manufacturers to say, look, you need to.
Okay, let's say I get the view from Mr. Ako. Now, these controversies, like we said, are out there in the public space, and the reassurance the public will want exactly is good value for whatever they will be paying for in the long run, because digitization has become a key that will unlock many doors to modern information. So how not to be shortchanged as a Nigerian public is what we're looking at. What do you foresee, and how do you think we should actually work on these issues making the rounds?
First of all, again, I would want to say the Nigerians are not much interested on the technical narratives. What we want
but
is...
they will be interested when signals are not getting to them.
Yes, I'm getting there. What we want is a better output. What we want is the opportunity to explore our creative ingenuity through this huge, broad-based opportunity that a digital switchover is going to create for Nigerians. But the onus is also on the regulators of the industry to make sure that these things are done right. So we are all not switched to digital platform, and someday, somehow, because equipment are phased out and everybody go blacked out and there is still a network around Nigeria. And that won't happen. It's not something that will pray to happen. But by and large, I think the white paper actually, when you study it, which is what we've done, has set out clearly everybody's role and how government is going to progress in this issue. And I think for that, our expectation is just, like I said earlier, pretty much high, and we're expecting that government to do her part. But the whole digital process, even from our own further research that we did, will need a lot of financing. And government is doing enough. Government is doing much, but they need to do more to make sure that the whole process is well financed, so that the little hitches here and there that we're having can be overcome.
When you talk about finance, so which area now? Content, signal, distribution, the other areas that we say, okay, content aggregators, where do you think government should push in more money for them to benefit from what they're putting money to? I think the entire value chain, because there's a huge opportunity. From the document we came across, it's almost about 80 billion in 2025, huge dollars to be made out of this whole process. I think it's a good investment in return, even for government and for the entire stakeholders. What I'm saying is we should look at the broad picture of the entire value chain, and investment and capacity should be built where it's necessary. Financial should be given where it's necessary for us to have, as consumers, as stakeholders, to have a better output, basically. Okay. Not really looking at any specific angle, but of course, broadly speaking, in the various critical areas that needs financing. Okay, Engineer Mana, Engineer Salami, Mr. Ako, we'll go on this break. When we return, we'll take a look at what next with the issues still on the ground emerging from the digital switchover process. We'll be right back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
It's about that time. States across the country coming together for one purpose, one goal. They are young. They are solution providers. the NTA ETV Children's Expo 2017, holding at the NTA Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja, with the theme Renewable Energy, Industrialization, Arts and Agriculture as tools to bring Nigeria out of economic recession, with sub-themes post-harvest processing and preservation, and using arts and crafts to promote tourism. Date 22nd to 27th October 2017. This expo is open to ages 6 to 12 years for junior category and 13 to 18 years for the senior category. It's about the Art, Science and Technology Expo. For sponsorship consideration, please call the following numbers.
The value pack. Helen!
You do great value shopping.
Absolutely. I'm a champion at getting value.
Then you must have bought the Harpic 200 ml.
Why Harpic when I have
this? Even after applying them 10 times, they won't give a sparkling clean toilet.
Impossible.
Challenge. Detergent and bleach can't give a sparkling clean toilet even after 10 times. But Harpic 200 ml gives a sparkling clean toilet at one go.
Wow!
Harpic 200 ml. Real deal. Now only 200 naira.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA, and joining us now is Dr. Armstrong Idachaba. He's the Director Broadcast Monitoring at the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission.
The National
Broadcasting Commission. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kirian.
All right. Yeah, I believe you've listened in to the conversation, and I would like you to also bear your mind on some of the issues that have been raised. And permit me to say this, that Nigeria has failed on 4 occasions to meet the deadline. And now progress is being made. And put all of that together, you know, and let's get from your angle as the Director of National Broadcasting Commission.
Thank you again, Kirian. Blessing. Engineer Salami and veteran broadcast engineer Edward Amana. By the way, today is his birthday. Happy birthday to you, sir.
You pay for that.
Thank you.
I've been an active viewer, active participant or observer of the discussions we've had so far. And it's been very, to me, I think it's been very educating. You asked the question about our failure to meet deadline several. Well, what I would say on that is to say, first of all, that it is not deliberate, but that it's also not unusual. I mean, everywhere in the world where the digital transition has taken place, countries have had to shift their dates. And that's very obvious. As we have found out from this brief discussion, there are a lot of issues that are involved in transition from analog to digital broadcasting. Some of them are technical, others are with regards to the content, sociological, political.
All right, sorry, Dr. Armstrong, you know, we seem to be having issues with that microphone. Your audio is not well audible enough, and we'll return to you while our engineers are tackling the issue. Now, let me go to Engineer Mana, you know, while we'll do that. You are quoted as saying that Nigeria will need up to 30 million set-top boxes for this to function effectively. And with the set-top boxes, that means it's very crucial, very important in the entire process, right? So how far are we going with that? Meaning, based on the fact that it's not readily available, it's not manufactured in Nigeria.
Well, actually, it's being manufactured in Nigeria. One of the policies of government, because of the number of set-top boxes we require for the transition, over 30 million, government in its wisdom decided that these boxes should be manufactured locally. Now, the advantage of that is that given certain incentives, they become more affordable. They will stop a lot of capital flights out of Nigeria, because at the time we started the transition, before the fall of the Naira, set-top box was put at average cost of retail of $20, which at that time converted to about 3,500. You multiply 3,500 Naira by 30 million. You know the amount of money that we would have had to spend outside of Nigeria, supporting some other economy If we manufacture set-top boxes locally, the money becomes domiciled in Nigeria.
Do we have the
Apart from
capacity?
that,
Do we have the capacity?
yes, I'm coming there. We have the capacity. What was done is that 13 companies have been approved by NBC as manufacturers of set-top boxes. Out of these 13, as we speak, 7 have actually set up plants for manufacturing, assembling and manufacturing of set-top boxes. On 5th of October, one of the set-top box manufacturers, Gospel Limited, launched a surface mount technology in Calabar. And this technology is going from assembly to actual manufacture of set-top boxes. The surface mount produces the template, the template on which the assembly plant writes. What they produce, they can service the other manufacturers who have assembly lines in Nigeria. And I don't have the statistics offhand now.
So what we have there is assembly plants. We're not yet locally manufacturing.
I've just said that if one of them has gone into actual manufacturing, the other 6 are assembling. Okay? But the technology that was launched on 5th of October will now move from assembly to manufacturing, and then modification of other such equipment in Nigeria. Our aim is not just stopping at the set-top box manufacturing to cater for the analog receivers. These companies will graduate when we conclude our initial transition to actual manufacture of digital television locally in Nigeria,
Exactly.
incorporating all the things needed for the Nigerian environment. That's the aim. And from there, they will graduate to actually making tablets locally and portable handheld devices that incorporate television, because the younger generation are not too keen on sitting down to watch television. They're very mobile. Exactly. So these are the aims. That's where we're going. So right now, 7 companies are up and doing already. The other 6 have certain logistic problems which they clear. But by the time they come on board and they are rolling out, we are going to have enough set-top boxes. You know, we're not switching off Nigeria in one day. It's a phased movement. So as we move from one location to the other, the demands will be met before we move to the next area.
So talking about the movement, for people who still believe the process is a slow one, and moving from one state to the other, engineer, so let me just talk about where we've had several states that have actually come on. Now, what is still stalling some of the processes in those states that is not making us to move beyond what we've done presently?
The signal distributors have to still set up their network in those areas. The mandate of each of the licensed signal distributor is that they have to set up a nationwide network for transmission. Now, we're going in phases, and we're asking the 2 licensed ones now to go in different locations so that we can meet a faster switch over. Okay. From Abuja, it has been decided that from Abuja, we're moving to 6 states, 1 each in each of the geopolitical regions of Nigeria.
Okay.
These are Gombe State in northeast, Kaduna State in northwest, Kwara State in north central, Enugu in southeast, Osun State in southwest, Delta State in south-south. So we covered 6 states, 6 geopolitical areas. And from these states, we will continue moving, parallel in those states simultaneously. So right now, ITS is deploying in Kwara, Osun, and Enugu states. Pinnacle is deploying in Kaduna State, in Gombe State, and in Delta State. Okay. So that's how the movement is. But each of them have their national movement, national planning already on ground.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're taking them in stages. So when they move to a state, it's a subset of what they have for the national coverage. Because eventually, each of them will still cover the same grounds eventually. But for us to complete this first phase of transition, we need to move in different directions for now.
Thank you very much, Engineer Mana. And let's return to Mr. Ako. Mr. Ako, from all you have explained and from all you've heard from the professionals who are actually working towards making progress in the digitization process, what do you think they should do further, to ensure that the stakeholders will also, of course, have value for their money when the time comes?
Okay, I think basically they should look at the infrastructures, basic infrastructure that are needed to be able to sustain such a time when they're fully integrated their services around the nation. So like we said earlier, so there won't be a situation where we've all switched to digital platform and we'll start having hitches, because that will be very, 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 very bad. So like I said earlier, whatever issues, they should look at the critical issues that are needed to have a sustainable platform that can expose Nigerians to this whole big opportunity that we've been expecting and waiting for. So I think there should be some kind of synergy between both the regulator, both government, and all the whole general stakeholders involved. Then they should also probably expand on awareness. The awareness is going on, but more awareness for people that are already expecting. An average Nigerian asks him, his assessment is that he's going to have a free TV where he probably will not pay almost nothing. And of course, for the content provider, it's a huge spectrum of opportunity that is coming on board. So it's a good thing, and I think whatever is needed, both from the government, regulators, and stakeholders, there should be a synergy and a common purpose to be able to drive this whole big change that is coming on board.
All right, thank you indeed, Mr. Ako. And at this point, we'd like to appreciate you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning on this particular edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you once again. Mr. Crescent Ako is the National Democracy Stakeholders Group leader. Thank you once again. This is still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue our conversation.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Now, thanks for staying with us up to this moment on the program. And let's return to Dr. Idashaba, who we are through with his audio line now. So you may like to go back to your point, the points we'll be making. You have told us about the fact that the shift in datelines is not peculiar to Nigeria. There are other nations that have switched over from analog to digital had the same experience. And then again, the other issues that we've been discussing here, raised by Engineer Mana and Engineer Salami, you listened in when they were making their own contributions. So put all of that together, and let's see your thoughts and your judgment.
Well, I was saying before I had that audio glitch that the discussion so far has been very interesting. To me, it's been very educating. I hope the audio also picked my birthday wishes to veteran broadcaster Engineer Mana.
That makes 2 slots, Dr. Dacha, but you are paying us this money.
Digiteam will pay. In any case, like I was saying, the the question about shift in dates in transition from analog to digital broadcasting is not unusual. It has happened everywhere that this transformation has taken place, and that is for very obvious reasons. The transition from analog to digital broadcasting is a huge endeavor. It has sociological, political, economic implications. Don't forget that at the cross of this transition is the desire of government to make information available to a cross spectrum of Nigerians, and that includes the rich and the poor. And because it has to go across the socio-economic spectrum, government has to be very careful in planning. And that is why you have seen, like I've said, even in America, in the UK, in other developed countries, it's a process that's time-taking. It's a process that's very, very demanding with regards to technical creative energies and even with regards to finances.
All right, Dr. Idachaba, yes, this period of dual illumination has been experienced, I'm sure. NBC as a regulator too has been looking into the areas of controversy being thrown around in the public space. Now, signals, distributors, issues, how have you resolved that, or how are you looking to resolve all these areas of controversies?
Let me say from the point of the regulator that, and I think Engineer Mana will agree with me, that controversies usually in every business, especially where there's competition, is expected. But we want to say as regulators that whatever controversies are existing are needless because this transition has been carefully planned. Government white paper, as was said earlier on, recommended that there should be 2 signal distributors for now. And when the market exigency provides, we'll have a 3rd signal distributor. And government did that deliberately so that it's not seen that government has created a monopoly in the ecology. Those who are in the private sector will want to participate. They have an opportunity to so do. Government has an interest in ITS. The private sector is pinnacle. And I think that the sky is big enough. What the regulator has done, NBC has done over the period, is to define roles. And the rules are very clear. Signal distributors are supposed to carry signals, from the broadcaster and get the signals home to the viewers. In between them, of course, because in Nigeria, we have created this environment, there's a need for synchrony. There's a need for us to synergize operations. And that is why within the business structure, Engineer Salami was mentioning earlier, that certain functional groups were also introduced in the process. Some of those groups that were introduced are like software integrators. Of course, with 2 signal distributors, there's a need for you to synergize and to make coherent.
Are those one called content aggregators?
Fantastic. We also have in the ecology content aggregators. People who are supposed, don't forget, you are dealing with an industry, as we currently have, that we are trying to multiplex over 50 channels, right? And they are across the country. So it is very important that someone aggregates these channels, puts them together, and then creates a special brand, which is the home offering. So NBC, as a regulator, noting that this was important, introduced some of those component functional agencies. But of course, they are like consultants and agents to the NBC. If the signal distributors, as they are beginning to feel, think that they have the capacity, it is more business friendly for them to do those businesses on their own. Of course, so be it.
All right, Dr. Dachaba, when we'll through with the reactions we have already from our viewer, we'll get to find out the capacity for all the people in this value chain, both the signal distributor, the content provider, the content aggregators, and area of encryption. I think Engineer Salami mentioned that because those are some of those areas that we'll look into as we go on the home stretch. But first, let's take the tweets. Kano Friday has this tweet. He said, "Good morning, Kieran and Blessing. Digital switchover is good development, but when will it come to Calabar? That's Cross River State. I watched. They just switched over."
All right, and from Dele Jack Solomon, the digital switchover in Nigeria will not only provide the desirous job opportunities for Nigerians, it will make Nigerians well informed about happenings in the world. The DSO implementation is a must if Nigeria must continue to be a member of the global village. We have intellectual human resources to achieve this.
Now, from Festus Akimboyewa is this tweet. Since television is part of the fabric of a modern society, Nigeria's TV industry must strive to produce some of the best programming that will be highly valued by Nigerians. Therefore, moving away from analog to digital must be taken seriously.
And Sakiru, if Federal Ministry of Information can count its blessings on digital at the end of 4 years, we are expecting power, agriculture, etc. to do the same.
Another tweet from Dele Jack Solomon. Say kudos to the federal government, the NTA, and all the stakeholders involved in the DSO, that's the digital switchover exercise in Nigeria. Please make it work, make it stay, and make it the pride of Africa. The DSO process and implementation is a huge financial, technical, and logistic challenge.
All right, that takes us to yes.
At the moment,
that takes us to Engineer Salami once again, and I want to give you just two questions on the issue of expansion, the capacity, and capability to expand to other parts of the country, as one of the viewers noted in the tweets. That's number one. Number two. Do we expect the signal distributors to begin to build masts, to transmit digital signals? Is it necessary in this crossover arrangement?
On the second question, I will address it as it concerns ITS. We've been privileged, and that is one of the advantages we have. By virtue of the specifications of the white paper, we are inheriting a series of infrastructure, transmission infrastructures of the NTA, and virtually in all the states of the Federation, NTA has not less than 3 sites in which they transmit. So for us, the issue of, though some of them we might not consider them for use in the digital era, because some were politically cited, so they won't be an advantage for us to be as such sites. We might build some few, but the fact is we have these infrastructures in place. All we need to do is to increase capacity in most of the cities.
Some of these transmitters have been there for a while, and
we
the
are
technology has changed over time.
We are not using the analog transmitters that NTA acquired in 1999. You had the DigiChim chairman just mentioned here earlier that before now, NTA had a relationship on which we are leveraging on. That relationship, the issue of the controversy about the specification of the transmitters had been clarified by him when he said the standards for Nigeria, indeed West Africa, is the DVB-T2. And we have a certification here from the equipment manufacturer, equally stating the time in which support for these systems lapses. So those are no longer issues. What we should focus on is this issue of expansion. And I think henceforth, maybe the powers that be will maybe like I mentioned earlier, we have already our own plan on how to roll out nationally. Maybe now, like he mentioned earlier, the transition, the next phase of the transition is for 6 cities within the 6 geopolitical zones. Maybe if we're allowed to expand further, more, like I am saying, by virtue of those inheritances we are making of NTA, we could speedily expand. And the other team too are making their own provisions to grow. I know they are in Kaduna now. They are making progress in Gombe. And before long, they will be in Asaba, I think. So we are saying, by virtue of those legacy inheritances, we have transmitter halls, we have masts. What would be maybe not useful for us in the present arrangement, particularly in existing state capitals, are the antenna systems, which are in the UHF band. So you can see that those advantages we are putting into use. That is why we are able to speedily deploy in those other cities which I mentioned earlier. But like we said, maybe we'll dialogue more with the DigiTeam and NBC, expose to them what our plans are, and maybe if there are issues, we'll resolve them. And
so what are your plans and what are you requesting as a signal distributor?
No, we are not requesting anything. We are okay as we are. What we are saying is that we need to expand. We agree with them. We shouldn't just be a city-based transmitting outfit. We should cover the entire states. And certain issues that we'll maybe discuss will make that expansion across the entire country very, very easy and more speedily too.
Because I was going to ask you a question. Is it just the cities? What about the local government areas?
That is the advantage I was telling you. We, NTA, as an entity, like here in Abuja, NTA is here in Garki. They have a setup in Suleja. We have something in Kefi. So if we are to deploy in Abuja, for example, we could easily and readily cover the entire city. If you go to Lagos, we are in Tejosho, we are in Ogijo, we are in VI. So those are advantages I'm selling. If you go to, say for example, in Oshun, where we are equally establishing our footprint, we are in Oshobo, we are in Ife.
So such existing structures.
Exactly. The white paper specify that they should be put to use.
But they are compliant to actually
I'm telling you that the transmission facilities, as of today, are existing. Our partners are already in about 60 cities operational. What we do, wherever it is we go, we expand these capacities. These are things we inherited from NTA. And the issue of maybe meeting technological change, if you go to Plateau now, in Jos, a new type of transmitter is in place, the N900 series. So it is not like we are stationary. It is not like we don't know what we are doing. Like I said, I will share with my boss here our system that we've integrated for the entire country, maybe within the next few days.
Okay, let's quickly get back to Dr. Idachaba before we bring in Engineer Amana. And some of these infractions that were already listed were just issue of people being concerned about equipment and generally technology that will serve the interest of the nation. And I know as a regulator, you're as well concerned as well. Now, so far, what other infractions is NBC noticing that could actually jeopardize the issue of this digitization process? What do you see, and what do you think needs to be done differently?
I don't know, Blessing, if there have been any infractions with regards to technology. I think that what you mentioned earlier was controversies that have been generated. Yes. I listened attentively to Engineer Amana. Engineer Amana, of course, chairman of DigiTeam and his group, they are in charge of the technical parameters, the standards that Nigeria has adopted. And he did say that the standards are not unique to Nigeria. There are standards that arrived from a decision of the ITU, and regions have decided to adapt whichever technology they want to use. They in DigiTeam have prescribed the standard for Nigeria, and he did mention that he's been around the transmitting sites of both Pinnacle and ITS, and he has confirmed to you that they are DVB-T2, which is the technology now that is adoptable and perhaps the more efficient technology that
is NBC2 confirming that DVB-T2 and also aspects of backward integration will be looking into?
Engineer Mana usually doesn't go to do inspections alone. He goes with a team of NBC engineers who are the regulators. So if Engineer Mana gives an opinion, it's an opinion that we consider highly professional, and taking into cognizance also the views of the National Broadcasting Commission. And having said that, on the technical side, perhaps one of the major challenges we've had over the period is the one that was mentioned with regards to maybe publicity and awareness. It appears that we have not done too much, but not to say we've not been doing. I know that NTA particularly has a weekly program that's dedicated to digitization in Nigeria. We expect more broadcast stations to do that, knowing that the whole, the ultimate beneficiary of the endeavor will be the broadcast stations themselves and, of course, the viewers. So we hope that broadcast stations will be more involved in enlightening the people, not just about the process, but actually about the direct nuances that are involved in activation of boxes, for instance.
Now, Dr. Dachaba, before we leave you, since the launch of the switchover in Jos, have you been receiving any feedback, or rather, what is the feedback like? As a regulator, have you been receiving any feedback on on what happened in Jos and how people have been making use of what has been launched?
I think, Kieran, instant feedback is the one you got from people who just tweeted. That it's a fantastic project. It is one that is needful for the country. It's one that will galvanize the economy in a very rapid manner. And we are beginning to see the gains. Engineer Mana and I were in Jos for a very long period. We could not share in the excitement of ordinary peasants on the plateau having access to 25 crisp, clear digital content free of charge. That's very exciting. And not only are they receiving those channels, they are diversified content, news, sports, business. And we also created a business ecology. People are installing set-top boxes. Small boys are activating for older people who are not too educated. People are retailing. and that's a boost to the economy. Not to talk about the employment and the value chain that we're already creating, even with the setup of the 7 set-top box manufacturing plants. So it's a revolutionary project for the country. The gains are obvious, and we are excited that the gains are already manifesting. What we hope is that we're able to deploy these gains rapidly across the country.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Dachaba.
If I may add something here, if you look at the rate at which people are looking for set-top boxes, for example, in Enugu, and the prices at which they are ready to pay, you'll see that the benefit and the awareness is already there. People are so eager to key in. So I think the doctor was very right in saying the benefit is immense and people are actually appreciating what government is providing.
You've told us what the advantage that NTA has based on the facilities that we have already on ground, in different places, which make it a lot easier, to get across to many Nigerians, if not all. How are people reacting to that? I mean, some of these partners or stakeholders, what has been their reaction?
The thing is not for the signal distributor alone to go. We are being guided, we are being regulated, we are being directed. Whatever it is we put in place will only be beneficial once it has been approved by the authorities that be. So I'm just saying that what the doctor said, that people are keen into the process, is evident by the reactions of people in Ilorin, in Osogbo, in Enugu that I experienced when I was there. People were ready to pay premium just to get the set-top box. So that's what I'm saying. The advantage is always there, but we are being regulated as to when and where to go.
All right, yes, so let's get the final word from DG team chairman.
Before a final word, I want to just chip in on the issues. Yes, ITS is inheriting the transmission infrastructure of the NTA. Now, but on the other side, Pinnacle, who is the private signal distributor, do not necessarily have to build masts everywhere in the country. Where facilities are available for broadcasting from other sources, they can leverage on those ones. Abuja here, for example, I'm aware that they actually looked around to see where they can co-site with existing broadcasters, but they found nowhere suitable. NTA, already your mast is overloaded, so of course, NTA wouldn't have been the most logical place for them to stay, but if NTA has space, they would have used it. And we encourage them to look around in all the areas where they're going to deploy that. For example, there are state government facilities. The transmitters of the state government will no longer be of any use to them after the transition. So they can go and either lease or buy over, rather than start building a fresh mast in every location.
All right, so time is not on our side now. And at this point, gentlemen, we are concluding this particular edition of Good Morning Nigeria. And I'd like to thank Engineer Edward Amana, who is also celebrating his birthday today. Thank him for taking out time to come and talk to us on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir, for your thoughts and your insight. Again, Engineer Rutimi Salami, the General Manager, Integrated Television Services, ITS. Thank you so much for educating Nigerians on what this is all about. We'll still need more education on this, until we finally arrive at the destination point. And again, to thank Dr. Armstrong Idashaba, Director, Broadcast Monitoring, the National Broadcasting Commission. Thank you indeed, sir, for making it to the show this morning.
Thank you.
Despite your audio problem initially. All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and as we round off this edition of the program, let's take you on sports.
Good morning and welcome to sports. World number 1 Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer have both qualified for the quarterfinals of the Shanghai Masters. But to begin with basketball, where D Tigers back top of the pile in African rating. Nigeria's D Tigers are now ranked number 1 in Africa according to the latest FIBA ranking released on Thursday. Despite finishing second at the 2017 FIBA Afrobasket held in Tunisia last month, D Tigers moved up 10 places but are ranked 26th in the world. The Nigerian men's team has 211.3 points to become Africa's best team. Angola, who also dropped 10 points, are second with 198.7 points but are 33rd in the world, while Senegal are in 3rd position with 178.2 points and 36th in the world ranking. Current African champions Tunisia are in 4th position with 119.9 points, while Egypt, Cote d'Ivoire, Morocco, Cameroon, Mali and Central African Republic in that order occupy the remaining positions in the African top 10. And in tennis, top seed Rafael Nadal continued his bid for a first Shanghai Masters title by seeing off Italy's Fabio Fognini in an impressive last 16 victory. The world number 1, 31, won 6-3, 6-1 in little over an hour to set up a quarter-final against Grigor Dimitrov. Similarly, Roger Federer avoided a potential banana skin in outclassing the Ukrainian qualifier Alexander Dolgopolov to reach the quarterfinals of the Shanghai Masters on Thursday. The Swiss legend looked rusty in his opener on Wednesday, but was closer to his fluent best as he swatted away Dolgopolov 6-4, 6-2 in a swift 61 minutes on court. Marin Cilic is also through after a win against Steve Johnson, while Juan Martin Del Potro beat Alexander Zverev. Meanwhile, Maria Sharapova moved into the Tianjin Open quarterfinals as she chases her first tournament victory since returning from a doping ban. The former world number 130 took her 4th match point to win 7-5, 6-3 against Poland's Magda Linette. The Russian, ranked 86th, was given a wild card to play in China as she continues her comeback. And that's the bit we have on sports at the moment. Thanks for watching.
World, let's get to the foreign scene.
On the 2015 Accord deal on nuclear program, Iran agreed to freeze its own in return for a partial lifting of sanctions. But US President Donald Trump is poised, as reported, to withdraw support to Iran today and would lay out a more confrontational strategy. The move, as explained, will not withdraw the U.S. from the deal, but will give Congress 60 days to decide whether to do so by reimposing sanctions. And from Israel comes a report that the country will join the U.S. in pulling out of the UN's cultural organization, UNESCO, after U.S. officials cited anti-Israel bias. In a statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the U.S. decision as brave and morally accepted. Lastly, the European Union's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, says there has not been enough progress to move to the next stage of Brexit talks as the UK wants, adding that there was new momentum in the process, but there was still deadlock over how much the UK pays when it leaves, which Michel called disturbing. Brexit Secretary David Davis, however, said he still hopes for the go-ahead for trade talks when EU leaders meet next week.
Entertainment is where we go next on Good Morning Nigeria.
Look at you. Femo Baoni.
Born Ramsey Tokunbo Noor Jr. on the 19th of December 1970 in Edo State to an Israeli father and a Yoruba mother who hails from Owu, Ondo State. He grew up in Surulere, Lagos State, where he attended Atara Primary School and Community Grammar School. Ramsey obtained diploma in mass communications at the University of Lagos, after which he pursued a career in acting.
I'm terribly sorry, it's just that things got too busy. And I can see things have been busy for you too. Well, baby number 2. That's it. Congratulations.
Noah's acting career kicked off when he starred in Nigerian Television Authority soap opera Fortunes. Noah since then appeared in numerous films, starring as lead character.
It's still very exhilarating, I must say, I must confess. It's quite a good thing to know that you can find yourself in a position in the industry where you're respected and you can leave a legacy behind by your work.
In 2010, Noah won the Africa Movie Academy Award for Best Actor in a Lead Role for his performance in Figurine.
I'm hoping that we can do content that has no barriers, language, culture, tradition whatsoever, can come in between, that we can paint ourselves who we are, and people will still recognize it and patronize it all around the world, irrespective of your tradition, culture, or travel background.
Noah is considered to be one of the most sought-after actors in the Nigerian movie industry, with blockbuster movies like Guilty Pleasure, Weekend Getaway, 30 Days in Atlanta, Tempting Faith, and 76, to mention a few.
So I'm thinking that with all of that said, if the government can give us an enabling environment for cinemas, for more cinemas to come up, and then because of that we can now shoot films. Of course, we can raise funds making our own movies, and then we can create content enough. With that, I know there will come competition, healthy competition, that will help every one of us grow, get better, and then the awards will start rolling in.
I will slap you.
Slap me now.
Obviously, I come Nigeria, I go tell us saying they work for oil and gas for you. So now kerosene attendant should be.
Well, the clement weather been experienced already here. Continue for today. Let's find out more details about your city and other locations in the country.
Hello. Satellite picture shows dust was raised from the South region and is expected to transport into the country to affect the extreme northern part of Nigeria to reduce horizontal visibility without any threat. And so for morning Friday's forecast, those haze over the northeastern flank of the country with partly cloudy conditions over the northwestern flank of Nigeria. Central cities down to the southwest coast of the country will be in cloudy conditions with prospect of thunderstorms over Ibi, Obudu, Ikon and Calabar axis. Progressing into the afternoon-evening hours, the northern region will remain the same with prospect of scattered thunderstorms over some part of central down to the coastal cities of southeast and southwest coast of Nigeria. I'm Suleiman Gurin. Up next is temperature details.
And that's our package. We thank you for waking up with us on Good Morning Nigeria for today. We'll be right back for another edition of the program on Monday. My name is Kirian Umayo.
My name is Blessing Abu. Thank you for being with us today. Hope you find that time to have a good weekend, because we know you need it, so you can join us bright and early on Monday morning, 7 in the morning. Thank you for watching.
It's not